Hey, what's up? This video is about the Chinese martial art I'm practicing here in China by the name ZiRanMen. But before I start to talk about the martial art itself, I would like to let my Patreons know that I will upload another video where I will go much more into the details. For example, about the martial art itself, about myself, about my teacher, and about his teacher. So stay tuned for that. Let's start with ZiRanMen. ZiRanMen is an extremely rare and unique martial art. It belongs to the northern martial arts of China, and it's a so-called inner martial art, like, for example, Tai Chi Chuan. But unlike many other Chinese martial arts or many other traditional martial arts, ZiRanMen does not contain any complex predefined techniques, for example like katas or forms. To give you a better insight into ZiRanMen and the way it's practiced, I'd like to share the story with you how I met my teacher. I think it was like after the first week I landed in Dalian. I went to a park to practice my stuff. So I went there and practiced my Tongbei, my Tanglang, and my Xingyi Chuan. And so I was practicing, and with a little distance there was an old man with his friend and staring and laughing at me, or actually about me. So I was a little bit curious, and but I didn't interfere them or ask what's wrong with them. So after a while, that old man came over and asked me what I am doing here. With my bad Chinese, I tried to express to him that I was practicing Chinese martial arts, and so he just said, okay, interesting, but you practice wrong. As far as I could understand. So I got a little bit angry, and somehow then he asked me, okay, if I like to punch him, and I was I was really happy to do that, but because he was an old guy, so I just punched him, very, very softly, and he asked me to punch him harder, and I punched him a little bit harder. And then he forced me to punch him with full power, or let's say at least with much more than I gave until then. And I punched him. In the same moment I punched him, I was flying like 5 meters, but it felt like 10 meters away. So I was so surprised by that, and at that moment I didn't know on what kind of level my teacher was. But by the way, this old guy was my teacher. I didn't know on what kind of level he was, or what kind of style he was practicing. I just realized that guy is much better than I am. So I asked him for his phone number, and I asked my boss to call him because my Chinese was really bad. And my teacher's Chinese is a very Dalian version of Chinese. So I met him, and I had my first lesson with him in the same park again. Or let's say at least we were practicing for 1 year in that park. At that time, when I started to learn from my teacher, I actually did not know that the things my teacher was teaching me were called ZiRanMen. In the beginnings, I always asked him about that, but he also always refused to answer me until I understood why. My teacher is not a Chabuduo guy. Like in his own practice and in many aspects of his own life, he is very detailed and deep. For example, while he's teaching.
One of the biggest and most important lessons out of the martial context for me was that names and titles are just air. The most important factor is myself. For example, imagine Lionel Messi would grow up in a football club where all coaches were just telling him how great Cristiano Ronaldo is, until Messi wants to become like Cristiano Ronaldo and starts to imitate him and to force himself into a frame he cannot fit in. He would have never become the player he is today. Same thing with martial arts. If you try to fit or force yourself into names or systems, you will never reach a high level. Only with the focus on yourself and a good guidance you can unleash your full potential.
ZiRanMen can be very simple, but it also can get extremely complex. For example, if I'm telling you now that the whole ZiRanMen is based on 18 shadow hands and 36 legs, what does it says about ZiRanMen to you? Right, nothing, because you don't know what are the 18 shadow hands or the 36 legs. Actually, you don't know what actually is meant by this. So, in this way, Dalian, the big way is simple. ZiRanMen actually means nature, and by its training methods and principles, we are trying to develop and increase our natural capabilities of our body, mind and soul, to have one day full control of ourselves and of our environment. So, if you like this channel and you like my videos, just subscribe and you will always be up to date. If you like to support what I do because you think it's worthy, so you can go on Patreon and support me there. If you are a Patreon, you will have access to much more of my videos, especially more martial arts videos. So, I hope you like what I do and see you next time.